Good morning, everybody. I'm Melisa Nielsen with Waldorf Essentials, and I'm going to give everybody a second to get on here. Are we all good over there?
Yep.
All right. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. I hope you guys had a great weekend. And I'm going to address this right now because I'm going to get 14 messages otherwise. What is wrong with your eye? I don't know. I took an antihistamine this morning. It looks like something bit me yesterday, like right here. And people are going to be like, oh, wait, I didn't notice it. Now you pointed it out. Now I can't do anything but see that. So I don't know. It will go away. Yes. So welcome to this morning's this week's video. Again, I'm Melisa Nielsen with Waldorf Essentials, in case you didn't know that. If you are watching us on the YouTube download, hit the subscribe notification and the bell notification. And now I noticed when you click the bell notification, it comes up and asks you, do you want everything? Or do you just want some things? Click everything. All of our stuff is good. You want to hear it all. So you want to go ahead and do that. If you want to listen to this in podcast form, you can listen to it on most podcasting platforms, and you can look for us under Agent or Object Podcast. So there's that. If you want to catch this later or catch the over 130, Daddy? Over 130 other episodes.
Almost 140.
Wow. So you can catch many of our episodes there. Okay, so today, I just think it's really funny. I think it's really funny that we have a lot of requests for this topic. And at first I was like, but I say this stuff all the time. But then I examined myself and how often I listen to my business coach say the same thing all the time, or some of the health coaches that we work with, like they say the same thing, and I'm like, yes, please more. So I get it. And I am very humbled that you guys want to listen to me. So I thought we would start with, today we're talking about what the exact stuff that I do every day, like my teaching rhythm, and like how I do it all. Those of you who follow us on Instagram may have seen me post our chart yesterday. It's this beautiful thing right here I made, and it's backwards for you if you're on Instagram. It will be frontwards on the replay. There you can actually get a copy of this if you'd like it. It was in our Insta stories. It'll be on our Instagram feed later today, but you can also grab a copy of that, and Eric and or Kelly is going to drop a link for our friends at Facebook. We'll make sure that there's a link for it in the YouTube video, right, Daddy, when it gets uploaded?
Yes.
Please. And then you can get it so you can have inspiration to make your own. I want you to know that the specific stuff that I do is what works. I've been doing this for a long time. Are there other things that work? Probably, but this is what I've tested. This is what I know. This is what I teach. And I have to laugh because one of the things on here is meditation. And we did our Planning for Peace meeting on Saturday, and we had a whole bunch of people on Planning for Peace. And my internet went this weird, which it never does that because we have really high internet. So it never craps out, but it somehow crapped out, but it kept recording. And so all of the other people that were in the class were there. And so when Eric was reviewing the footage yesterday, I said, so what did I miss? And he said, they were like, what? She meditates for an hour? How does she do that? So I'm going to talk to y'all about that. So let's start at the top. My week or my school day really starts sort of like here in the planning, like in this puppy. This beautiful piece of ream of paper with all of the forms in it and all of the ways that I teach planning. This is where my school day starts. It starts here. If you don't have a good plan, no wonder you have a crappy day. Like, really. You got to have a plan. And I know it sounds frustrating if you're not a planner, or it might be like, oh yeah, I know this. Because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Period. I know that there are moms that will say to me, but I just had this great time pulling this lesson out of the thin air, and it all works out. great for a second grader, not great for 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 12th graders. No, you have to be on your game. So you might as well learn now. You have to learn, and teachers plan. So having a plan is the first step to success. That's like before I even get up in the morning, I have a plan in place. With that, I also know what we're eating, so menu planning in place. I also go to bed like I'm supposed to. And sometimes, yeah, I want to stay up late, of course. Do I mess with it on the other end? No, I'd rather suffer with being a little tired than not doing what I'm supposed to do, because when, I have 5 children. So I kind of had like baptism by fire for a lot of years. And even though I only have 2 home now, and I could sleep until noon and they'd be like, hey mom, let's do school afterwards. It's not happening because I keep it. I drive the boat. You drive the boat. In your house, you drive it. It doesn't even matter if dad works from home. You still drive it. You drive it. Because if you don't put forth the effort and the energy for what needs to happen, it won't happen. So, again, do the planning. Have a family meeting on Sunday or on Saturday and talk about what's coming for the next week. So when we have our family meeting, when we had them and Eric wasn't at home, and when he was still working outside the home, we would talk about what we did in school the week before and what was coming the next week, so that he knew where we would be. And we also we had that opportunity to say, Daddy, tell us what you're working on this week. And that way we could be thinking about stories that we knew he was going to go out and report on, or because he used to be a newspaper reporter, all of those things, big meetings that he might have that he might be a little bit nervous about. I knew all of those things because we had those family meetings. Then he was also abreast of stuff that the kids were doing. He knew that if he was expected to go pick kids up from Scouts on one day, or if I was going to need his help with something else, he knew that. It wasn't something that just came up that morning. He knew it. So that family meeting is like, it's so important for having a peaceful foundation in your home. So know what you're eating. Everybody feels better when they know what they're eating. So do the dang menu. Stop fighting it. What's so funny is I have so many people that follow us and they're like, just tell me. I just want to know every detail. This is it. Stop fighting for your limitations and just do it. Do it. Even if all you write is that you can have oatmeal every morning, or that you can have soup every day for lunch, or that you can have the same dinner every week. Yes.
Crystal L. Farrell says, I find if I don't tell my kids our family plans, they will ask for it and force a family meeting. They need to hear it and like to feel prepared.
They do, especially if you've gotten in the habit of family meeting and then you don't do it like last night. Because we kind of, yesterday was kind of a slow day, and Sam is going to be gone on a trip this week, and so I kind of didn't feel like we needed to have a big family meeting. And I'm putting Soraya to bed. She's like, we need to have our meeting. She said, can we just have it right now? I said, no, we'll just do it at breakfast. It's all good. It's not a big deal this week. This is what happened. Remember, you were there. So they will keep you honest. When you are in the habit of doing it, they will absolutely keep you honest about what needs to happen. So have the family meeting. And if you're like, but my partner will think I'm crazy, talk to your partner about why it's important. Say, honey, I'd love to know what you're doing at work, because then it helps me know if I know you're going to have an extra stressful day, or you've got an extra meeting, then you know, like, okay, Wednesday morning, he's going to be meeting with this boss. He might be a little bit stressed out that morning. So what can I do to help him? He might just really want some solitude as he's getting ready to get out of the house. So can I get him a breakfast that's ready so he can just take it with him? Maybe he doesn't want breakfast because that'll make his stomach hurt, or maybe I can make sure he has a special lunch. All of those things that cement you together as a couple, that need to happen so that you can be on the same page as parents. All those things, like the family meeting covers all of those things. So there's, I've had blueprints for family meetings before, and I think there's one in the new Planning for Peace journal. Don't overthink it though. Sit down, talk about what happened last week, talk about what's happening this week, have your calendar out. When we sit down to have our family meeting, I have a printed calendar that goes on the fridge so that everybody can see it. So at the family meeting, everybody gets their phones out and we look at what we've got on our calendar. Eric and I have the same phone calendar synced. So anything he puts in the calendar, I get, and anything I put in the calendar, he gets. So we can't double book anything, which is golden. We've been in the other route, and it sucks. So everybody's responsible for putting something on the calendar. And so that way when we sit down, Sam can say, and this is why Sunday is so helpful for us, because we've already been to church. Sam's been to Sunday school. He knows, he talked to his leaders. He knows what he's doing Wednesday at their Wednesday meeting. So we can write it all down, and it's all there. I try to always do the week that's coming, and anything extra that I know that's coming over the next 2 weeks. Like if we're going on a trip or somebody's coming into town, I'll say, remember, a week from Tuesday, Grandma comes, or whatever that is. That way, it's on their mind. They know, and it's not a surprise the next week when we have our meeting. It's coming. So that is super important. Family meeting, super important. Just that one thing will change your life. Add menu on top of it, and everybody knows what they're eating, and they'll be so happy that they'll have to ask you. Yes?
I have a couple comments. Amy Wilson Robertson says, I love having input on dinner so I don't have to think of everything, and so I know what groceries we need to pick up.
And you know they'll eat it because they helped you make the menu.
And Natisha Allen Loving says, we haven't had one in forever, and I feel like I'm answering the same questions daily. We're going to start back even with it on my fridge, they still ask.
Well, this is what I do. Don't use too many words. I just point. Then they'll go look at it. If you stop answering the questions and you just point, they'll go look at it. It's not rude. Somebody said to me, how can you be so rude to your kids? I'm like, I'm not rude. How am I teaching them and training them to actually be self-reliant and to go, oh, wait a minute, there's a calendar on the fridge, if I don't point to it and make them go look at it? So, and also I think too, if it doesn't happen at the family meeting, we don't discuss it at family meeting, it doesn't happen because it's not on the calendar. So if you want it on the calendar, then you have to actually put it there. So when kids say, oh, but I wanted to hang out with so-and-so on Thursday, we already put it together, but you didn't come and it didn't come through me. So it helps kids become aware that they're not, especially, and I'm not talking about little ones, I'm not talking about 4 and 5 year olds. I'm talking about kids that are 9 and up that are aware of their surroundings, aware of who's around them. And I've had moms say, but my 9-year-old is just not. Well, then it's your job to help them become aware. Help them become aware. They're part of a family. It's your job to help them become aware. Okay, I'm going to move on to the next thing. So like I said, it all starts there. It starts with planning. I know what I'm doing. I have my plans in place. So it's not like I'm getting up in the morning going, oh, wait a minute, I don't know what I'm doing today. No. I know what I'm doing. And I sit down on Sunday and I look ahead. So we have our family meeting, everybody disperses, and then I look at lesson plans. And actually it's Eric and I, Katie and I teach together. We look over lesson plans, we talk about what's coming up for the week. We've already done all the planning. So all we're doing is like refreshing our memory and thinking about anything else that we might need to pick up that maybe we forgot the week before. But I sit down and I look at the week that's coming and I glance at the next week too. So if there's something I need to pick up at the library in prep for the following week, I can make sure he picks it up. We can sit down right there and order it, make sure it's coming to the library. Or if there's something I need from Amazon, I can order it right then. Or I don't shop on Sunday, so I will stick a lot of stuff in my cart on Sunday. Monday morning, I'll go through and make the orders. Anything else over there?
Nope.
Okay. So that's my front loading. I front load everything. Front loading will save your life, especially if you have a lot of kids. But even if you only have 2 or 1, it will totally help you. But you have to be in that mindset of, I want to succeed, I want success, I want to feel good, I want to be confident. If you are in the mindset of, I can't do this, this does not work for me, I'm never going to get it, I don't know how she's sewed together. If you're in that mindset, you're never going to get it. I'm just telling you up front. If you want it though, you have to be like, I can do this. The best question you can ask the universe or God or source, whatever noun you put on that energy, you can say, how can I do it? Not, I can't do it. How do you feel when a child says to you, I can't do it? I'm pretty sure God's like, oh really? I put you on this space and you have all of these opportunities around you and you're telling me you can't do it? How about you ask me how you can do it and I will show you. Every time I say how, the universe it's like this beautiful, just like this comes into place and that comes into place and this, you have to ask how. And that's with anything. That's whether it be with your parenting, your partnership, money, everything. You have to ask how. Anytime that I have struggled and failed or felt like I failed, which there's no failure, but anytime I felt like that, it's always because I asked the wrong question. Instead of saying how, I beat my head against the wall. I can't. Then I go, oh yeah, how? And then the universe shows up. It shows up with like, here you go. Here, this is how. It's like God touched my brain. Oh, that's how. You got to ask the right questions. So ask how. Don't say why. Don't say I can't. Those are limiting beliefs. You might need to go back and watch our mindset videos we did a few months ago and sort through your limiting beliefs and sort through how you speak to yourself inside your head, to your children. Don't do the I can't stuff. And I do tell you that my children will say, but Mom, you said I can do anything. And I say, you're right. That, however, does not work in what's going on right now. When you raise children that are aware, then they can see that, oh, wait a minute, that's probably not the best idea for the whole. And yeah, you have to do some things for the little ones, help them understand that. Heart coherence is super important, just getting on their level, talking to them, holding them when they're sad, being that attached parent that you tell others that you are or that you are in your head, even if you cannot make it happen all the time. Do the best you can. All right, next. So again, it starts before the actual day. But this is how, I wrote it all out yesterday. So I wrote my personal teaching rhythm. It all begins with a plan. So I got my plan in place, planning for peace. School plans are all in place. So I get up before my kids. Every day. Even on Sunday. Especially on Sunday. Are you kidding? They're going to sleep in, so I'm going to get more time. Especially on Sunday. I start my day with prayer, meditation, and centering myself every day. And this is where, like I said, in our Planning for Peace video on Saturday, we were talking about meditation. And then my internet crapped out, and they were still talking. And Eric was listening to the replay yesterday. And they were like, what? She meditates for an hour? I'm going to tell you, I didn't start there. I didn't start meditating for an hour. I started years ago with like 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and it wasn't guided then. Then I wrote some guided meditations for those of you who are Thinking, Feeling, Willing members. They're Mom Lesson 3. I wrote some. I'm actually in the process of writing a couple more. For those of you who are joining us in Salem on the 24th of August, Salem, Oregon. Sorry, I was like, oh, wait a minute, there's another Salem on the other side of the country. Salem, Oregon. Get a hold of Lendon Clark if you're not signed up for that. But I'm introducing a brand new meditation there, and then it will be available to everybody. So working on that. But I started with 10 minutes. When I started with my kids, we started with like 1 minute for them. Because I do personal meditation. Eric also prays and meditates on his own. Then we come together and do family meditation. I meditate in the morning, before bed, and in the middle of the day with my family, or in the early part of the day with my family. So how does that look? In the morning, I like I said, I used to just do 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes. Then I was doing like 30. For the last week, I've been doing an hour in the morning. I could seriously go longer. The time flies by. If you've got the right meditation and you're working through those things, you could sit there for hours. But you know what? You always have somebody that'll be like, hey, Mom, your meditation's over. Oh, yes, thank you. At nighttime, I try to stack my bedtime so that I'm going to bed so that I have 30 minutes to an hour at night as well, so that I can ramp down. The nights that I do it properly, I sleep deep and hard and long. And I wake up refreshed, even if I only had 6 hours. So I will say, before my stroke, I was able to rock like 3:30 in the morning all the time, regularly, even with the newborn. Somebody messaged me yesterday, how are you doing this with the newborn? I did with 2 different newborns where I was up this early and like super early in the morning. And guess what? It made me nap when they napped. It made me rest my eyes during the day. It made me go to bed when they all went to bed and get that rest in. But when I get it before them and I train them that I'm getting up before them, it's golden. You know, if we weren't shooting this video this morning, I got up at 4:15, I would seriously have until 8. That's almost 4 flipping hours. It's amazing. Do you have something over there?
When you were talking about the I can't. Crystal Farrell says you can do hard things. That's my mantra to my kids.
I can do hard things. Yes, I can do hard things. Yes, ma'am. And for those of you who are listening thinking there's no way I can get in an hour of meditation in the morning, it's okay. Really and truly your question should be how. And somebody is like, why would you do that for so long? Well, you see what life I live. You see what I'm putting forth into the universe. You see how excited I am about living. You see all of these things. And yes, we've had struggles and struggles happen. That's just part of life. But struggles and challenges don't become big problems. They just become something to ask the universe how. So it's about moving forward, and it's about loving myself enough so that I can show up the way my family needs me to. That's why. It's also about me believing, like having an intrinsic belief that my body can heal itself, my body can take care of itself, and I have to allow that to happen. And part of that is like getting out of the brain and stop letting the body be like completely in charge all the time, and let my spirit self be in charge. The longer you do that, the longer you'll have. I know that sounds counterintuitive. The more you do it, the more time you'll have, the more the universe around you will respond. But you can't get frustrated if you have days when you can't get all of that in. You just have to accept and just walk on and find other opportunities to do that. You have to be willing. You have to be willing. So prayer, meditation, centering, yes. And prayer and meditation are separate things for me. I've taught this for a long time. If you followed us, prayer is the thanking and the asking. Meditation is the listening and the creating. So you just sort of your open space then. Okay, and then I lay out, once I'm all done and I'm dressed and everything, I lay out our lessons for the day. So I've already got them planned. I have them out there on the table, any books that I need to grab. That way, or not on the table, I'm sorry, on the counter, because it's the table we need to eat at. But I have everything laid out so that when it is time, we're ready to go. Then I wake up the kids. My kids are usually up by about 7. Of course, I have 5 children, and I've had kids that wanted to sleep till 10, kids that were up at 6, all over the place. Our day right now starts at 7. It used to start at 8, but we've got more stuff to do, so it starts at 7.
Marie Paul Hall says, I have my plan and I'm ready to teach, but the kids still want to go. I need help getting them to desire to do handwork again.
Oh, well, okay, so remember you drive the boat, Marie. With regards to handwork, I let them pick their handwork, so then they're responsible for it. So we go through together and they decide what they're doing. Like right now, Samuel, I was going through Ravelry one day, and I found this shawl that has, because he loves Doctor Who, I found this shawl that had like the TARDIS on it. He's like, oh, I want to make that, but he doesn't need a shawl, but he wants something for himself. So we took the pattern, and he's making himself a washcloth that's got the TARDIS on it. So he's invested. So all I have to say is, hey, grab your handwork. And he sits down and grabs his handwork. The same with Soraya. We just do it. It's not, like, people ask me often, like, how do you get your kids to do it? Well, it's because it's part of my non-negotiables. If it's a non-negotiable, they're not going to argue with you. They'll know, oh, it's not good to fight with this lady. They just do it. Just come and do it. If I'm sitting down and doing it, if I'm the example, then they'll do it. And that's, really important, because we know in Waldorf those first 7 years, those first 7 years are those imprinting years where they are copying everything you're doing. So you really have to be careful about what you're doing, what you're saying, the words that are coming out of your mouth, whether it be, things that you're thinking about yourself or saying about others, all of those things. That's why kids embarrass us often, because they'll repeat something that we didn't want them to repeat. So, we have to be careful in those early years, because they will repeat, because they're mirroring us. And that's not just stuff that Steiner said. Now we know that in science to be true, that those first 7 years are imprinting years. And those first 7 years are years when they're kind of living in almost out of their subconscious. They're not fully present, so they're living in a different place, and they are copying everything we do. Whether it be us yelling no at them or, us being unkind to somebody, they are copying everything. So during those times, that's when you have to really work to imprint what you want to imprint. So how you want to show up. Now, I understand, Marie, with you, your kids are older. So I would still be like, well, this is what we need to do, because this helps our brain. It helps our schooling, and we're getting something done. So having, like with handwork specifically, have an end date, have a goal. So are you making this for a gift? Are you making this like for somebody else? Are you doing this for a Christmas gift? Are you doing this for a birthday gift? Having a goal to finish it is super helpful. Super, super helpful. Okay, so then, like I said, I wake my kids about 7. Then we have, and I know what we're eating because, hello, menu. We have, and I will say, there are absolutely weeks when Eric and I, for one reason or another, didn't get the menu done. So we just talk about it that morning. That morning I go, all right, well, this is what we're doing for breakfast. And what are we doing for, we don't just talk about breakfast. All 3 meals. Get it all in. So we have breakfast, and during our breakfast we have family prayer and our morning scripture devotional. We do that together. If you do not do scriptures in the morning, totally fine. Do something that lifts your spirit in the morning. We also have, our kids have big life journals. You could do that in the morning during breakfast. Something that sets the tone for your day, especially if you've got chaos in your house. And trust me, I have 5 children. I understand chaos. But when you do something that sets the tone for the day, they listen. They listen. It might take a few times of them being like super silly and not wanting to listen. But guess what? You keep doing it and you don't give it up, and you just say, hey, we're not going to have that behavior here. You can sit here, or you can go wait on breakfast in your room. Guess what? They come along. You have to be confident in what you're asking them to do. And if you're wondering what I mean by that, like, I want you to think about the last time somebody asked you to do something and you knew they were not serious. You're like, I don't have to do that. They're not serious. But if you come to this place in confidence and love. For instance, the other day, Samuel asked me something. I forget what it was. He sent me a text because we were not home. And they have a phone here for texting when we're not home. So he sends me a text. And I said something about, no, you can't do that. And that's not happening right now. And he sends me the text back because it's really hard to discern tone in text. He's like, I'm sorry, Mom. I said, oh, no, honey, I love you. It was not about me being angry. I said, I'm loving you. And I'm also really firm in my answer. So I just need you to know that I'm firm in my answer. He's 13. He can handle it. Thank you, Mom. I love you too. That was it. Because he knew I was firm in my answer. They have to know you're firm in your answer. And honestly, I'm telling you, it has less to do with me being a choleric and more to do with me being confident in my parenting. Be confident in your parenting. If you are a positive parent and you are an attached parent and you are like rock solid confident in how you are approaching your children, it will work out for you. If you are not, it will not work out for you. So you've got to know sort of like how you're showing up. Okay, so then after that, we do our family meditation. That takes about 15 minutes. Soraya loves it when we only do a 5-minute meditation, but she'll absolutely sit through a 15-minute one. And during that meditation, I always front load that too with, in this meditation, why don't we dedicate this meditation to, like right now, we're looking for a bigger house space. So we are talking before our meditation about what we're going to think about. And something that super lights both of my children up is designing their room in their head. And so their new room. And so that's what they spend their meditation on. And honestly, they could go longer too. The other day, Soraya was like, I think I want to try your long meditation. I said, all right, let's just see how it goes. So we're going to try that today. So family meditation, then we go on a walk. We go on a walk like every day. And that's our habit, and I understand that there are people that are going to say to me, okay, by 9 o'clock, it's 100 degrees here. So you might have to, switch that around, but you want to do something active in the morning. Yes.
Amy Wilson Robertson says, is there an adult journal you'd recommend? My kids are too little for the big life ones, I think. And I'm the terrible journal writer, but I'd love to try.
So there's a big life journal for teenagers. There's one for teenagers and there's one for little kids. The teenage one I think is pretty good. Samuel's 13. And I actually, I was reading through it. I would have given it to my 16, 17-year-old when she still lived at home. That's now an adult, but I would have absolutely given it to her. I don't do journal prompts, but I know a lot of people do, and a lot of people really like them. There's so many journals out there, Amy, I would suggest asking on the Thinking, Feeling, Willing support group and seeing if there's something that somebody else really likes, because there's a lot of women on there that I know journal. For myself, I don't use prompts like that. I will often reflect on maybe something I read in scripture, something that I'm working on, just for myself, and that's where my journaling often comes from.
Becca Barrett says, rebounding is something we do inside when it's too cold. It's awesome.
Yes. You have to do something to like get your body moving though. I am of the firm belief that little children, they're like static electricity magnets. So when they get up in the morning, they kind of like, like when you pull socks apart that have been in the dryer, there's all this like static electricity. That's how children are. So you got to like shake it all off in the morning and just get it all going and moving. And then we come back and we start our school day. So with that, we usually start with a gathering. If I'm teaching, Dad comes downstairs to work. If he's teaching, then it's vice versa. But we start with the gathering, and we don't do circle anymore because my kids are bigger. So, but when we did, the gathering was a circle. I might gather first with my older children and sort of get them going and invite them. If they want to join circle, they're welcome to. What's funny is the children that resist circle when they're 9, 10, 11, and 12 will absolutely come to circle when they're 15, 16, 17. So like, wait a minute, I'm getting out of doing something else, so I'm absolutely going to circle. So, decide what you're doing for your gathering time. If you're one of our members, there's plenty of gathering activity ideas in the Mom Lesson on Circle Time. If you are a kindergarten member, you've got access to Circle Time Creation. There's some information there. But, don't overthink gathering. Don't overthink it. So we gather together, and we might have an intention for the day, say a verse, and then we get started on what we're doing. So older kids gathering, we will practice music. We will often do handwork, unless we're doing handwork later on. Let's see, we might do some beanbag work, some copper rod work, something to sort of get everybody together. And my kids are the ages now that even though there's 5 years between Sam and Soraya, we can all do copper rod work together, and she can step out if we have to do something more complicated and then step back in. So, but you got to plan it. You got to know what you're doing. What's nice about the Music Unfolds curriculum is there are songs that Soraya is singing and just learning to play on the flute that Sam can play really well. So he can use one of those as a practice song that she's learning and then have his own song as well. So we can be gathered together for a lot of that. And then there's some stuff that he has to do on his own. So, and then after that gathering, we start main lesson. Let's see, over here I've got a question. Crunchy Yoga Mama says copper rod work. So if you look it up, it's a Waldorf term. So it's working with copper rods. Yes.
Marie Paul Hall asked about handwork. She says, cool, I did make goals for them, and we are doing some Christmas presents now. They are simpler projects to get them started back to work up to sewing projects for Halloween. I started knitting again, and little Russell saw it and was like, wow, so I'm now moved and leading the way back. It has been a long road of packed up house to where we are now. So have you found that handwork is better when they have more energy or not?
I like to do handwork first thing in the day, like it's in our gathering usually. The reason why, I really believe that it moves the brain. So, you have the walk that moves the brain, because that's part of what the walk does. The walk gets the brain going. But then handwork is like you're quiet, and it's I really think it's this like heart coherent space right here between the heart and the brain. And it gets the brain working even more, because they really have to focus on handwork. And then they're in a focused space. They're ready for a main lesson. So I really like to do handwork in that space before main lesson. It's super, super helpful to us. I did not discover that space and time until Samuel was in first grade. I wish I knew it with my big kids. But we always did handwork with my big kids, but it often happened in the afternoon, or I was struggling trying to figure out a time. But, with Sam, we started doing it before his main lesson. And what I noticed was that his reading was better in first grade. Like he retained more, he was more focused. So we continued that with Soraya, and I teach that now to do handwork first before main lesson. And it doesn't tend to matter what grade they're in, because they have to focus, because you can't, unless you are a master knitter, which for me, I will pause and say, I cannot use knitting, like a straight knitting project, for relaxation anymore. It has to be something that is a little more complex, so that I have to focus on that. Otherwise, whatever is going on in my head is still going on in my head, because I can knit and purl like nobody's business, and it doesn't matter to me. I can still do it. I can knit in the dark, and I can, all of those things. But if it's something that I have to focus on, that like sort of brings that space, because what we want is for the thoughts. We want the brain to be working, but we want all those incessant thoughts that just keep coming from the subconscious to, that are trying to like move things. That's not where the movement comes from. The movement comes from being very deliberate and very, like really working on getting that space of almost your spirit self coming forward. And that's what's working. So you can sort of suppress some of the things that you're not good enough, you didn't do a good job, all that garbage that the subconscious wants to protect you with. So really and truly, if you're wondering what in the heck I'm talking about, go back and watch our videos on mindset, because we talked about that. Or there's some great work. We really like the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza. That he's really good with regards to meditation and getting your head and your heart in a good place. Deepak Chopra, both of them really good meditation wise. But anyways, we do handwork before we do main lessons. So then we would do, after our gathering, we would do our main lesson. If you have several children, then you probably want to dial into our, like, how I work with several children, because all of my kids get their own main lesson, like, every day. So that means, again, I have to plan. So we are currently doing 3 main lessons a week. Then we have one day that we're at a co-op, and then one day that they're out with Dad, where they're usually at a museum or at the library or doing something else that's very much so school related. So, but 3 main lessons a week for sure. And that only comes from me having it planned out. And if you're thinking to yourself, I don't know how I'm going to teach all these kids, then maybe it's a good idea to step back and go, maybe if I did 3 main lessons a week rather than 5, I could breathe out a little bit. And then stack those other days with, like I said, the library, museum, a co-op, something, so that you feel like you're getting all your days in. The other thing I do is I talk about this a lot, I take every 10th day off, and we go play. There's like not school stuff. And generally, if they're like, oh, should I take a book with us to read in the car? Because if we're on our way to Disneyland, I know they're going to be in the car for 90 minutes. I let them take a playbook, something that they're having fun with, rather than it having to be a school thing. I want them to feel the breathing out as well. Because we have a lot of active days and a lot of really busy days. So I want them to feel the breathing out, and I want them to learn at these young ages to really take care of themselves and to really enjoy the off time when they've been working so hard.
Marie Paul Hall asks, each child has 3 main lessons per week.
Yeah, that's what we do. I know our curriculum's written for 4, but we do have some information on how to make that 3. So it's really not that hard. You just have to stack a little bit more. They're 3 longer days for sure, but yeah, that's what we do. All right. So school, and then after school, like we're usually done by, noon or 1 generally, and then we're done for the day.
Oh, Tisha Allen Loving says, clarify what you mean by a main lesson. I might be overthinking this.
So if your main lesson block is geometry, then it's a geometry lesson. If your main lesson block is Rome, then it's your Roman lesson. If your main lesson block is botany, it's your botany lesson. And I suppose I would mean all of the gathering activities and the main lesson. That happens 3 days a week. And the other days, we still usually do handwork. Handwork is really helpful, especially if you have kids that have some special needs going on. Soraya can tantrum like nobody's business. But I'm really good at, because I've worked at it for a long time, I'm really good at getting her down from that space. And often what that looks like is, she's like this. And I start to ask her, how does your body feel? It doesn't feel very good. And because everything's tight. So I'll take her hands and I'll start to breathe with her. And then I might put my hand over her heart and have her hand over my heart so she can feel this love that I'm sending to her. We're still breathing. And then I might sit her down on the couch next to me, and I might release the pressure points here in her hand, rub my hands down her back like 3 times. I might grab some oils, and then I might hand her handwork. That's often the way that goes. That keeps the tantrums from coming. I know if you're in a place where you've got tantruming all over, you might be thinking, how does she do that when there's other little kids around? Well, the Lord blessed me with the oldest having special needs and the youngest having special needs. So I've learned. I learned everything on him. And while we do things somewhat different, all of that came from those years of me having to do it. You know, I remember I used to carry Rescue Remedy in my pocket all the time. And it would be like, for me, my gosh, can I please get through the day? And then, you know, often for him. So we used a lot of Rescue Remedy, and now we use a lot more essential oils. I like the essential oils because they can hand a rollerball to a child that they can carry in their pocket, and they can use it whenever they need to.
One thing I thought to add about the 3 main lessons a week is that doesn't count that there's 1 day a week that's co-op.
Right, exactly.
And you're at co-op.
And our co-op is, we do main lessons at our co-op. Not the same main lessons we're doing at home. We have different topics that we cover in co-op, but we're at co-op for 4 hours.
Yes, I think that's probably worth saying.
So I skimmed over that a little bit, but yeah, we do, at our co-op, it's not just play, it's not a play date. So it used to be, and then when we just did that in the first 2 years, in the first year that we had our co-op, I came home and I still did some more schoolwork. But now that it's like a full, like at our co-op, we are blessed with a music teacher, and so I don't have to teach music. Miss Val teaches music. Val, if you're listening, I love you. We have a music teacher, we have a movement teacher, and a handwork teacher. That's me. It used to be Miss Jenna, now it's me. We have a painting, drawing, and modeling teacher. It used to be me. I don't know who it's going to be next. And so we are for 4 hours. We start at 10, and we're usually done by 2. They're there doing main lessons there. They're there doing all of those other enrichment activities there. So they have that 4th day, and then when they go with Eric, I mean, you can say what you do. They're usually at a...
Well, you do all sorts of things.
Yeah, usually at the library or at a museum or...
A lot of library trips.
My children like the library a lot. And they like the library because I only let them check out 4 books at a time. And then they have to take books back in order to get more books. And the reason why I do only 4 books at a time is because I'm tired of having library fees. Thankfully, like the city of San Diego just did this thing where there's no fees now, right?
Yeah, because they spent $1 million trying to collect $750,000, and so...
That I call city efficiency, now that they've recognized it and said, oh, maybe we shouldn't do that.
So now there's just a point where you have to pay for the book and you don't get to check a book out instead of enforcing fees.
Right. That's great. It's great, but we still only do 4 at a time. So they have to think about what they want to take back. And so they want to go to the library every week because they've got stuff to take back so they can get something else. I do not fall into that limit, just saying. If there's stuff I need for school, I'm absolutely going to get 16 books if I need to. Okay, so Crunchy Yoga Mommy says, is your co-op set up for mixed ages? Do all ages do the same handwork? No. So our co-op has about 40 kids in it, and we split up into 4 groups. So we have 4 groups or 5 groups? 5 groups now. It's 5 groups now because we have so many big kids. We have our toadstools that are 0 to 4. We have our acorns that are 5 and 6, so kindergarten. We have our saplings that are 7 and 8. We have our oaks that are 9 and 10. And we have our aspens that are 11 and up right now. I can foresee needing to have more groups later because our kids are growing. So we have about 8 kids in each one or so. Yeah, about that. And we have 2 mamas about to have babies. And I feel like there's somebody else out there that just hasn't told us they're pregnant or they're thinking about having a baby or something. There's like, what happens when you get a lot of women together that are like heart-centered and understanding and they feel everybody is all of a sudden you start to feel everybody's energy. So I feel like somebody in our co-op is either trying to be pregnant or pregnant and they haven't told us. So if you're listening and that's you, we know. So anyways, no, that's what I do every day. There's no secrets to this. This is the stuff I've always taught This is how I do it. I'm ready to teach. That's the number one thing. Be ready to teach. Make sure your lessons are planned out. Having planned lessons saves your bacon. And if you have kids that are fighting you, look at your lesson plans. If you are not planned out, they know it. These are the questions. They may not be consciously asking them, but these are the questions they're asking in their head. Why does she expect me to show up if she doesn't show up? Like, seriously. You cannot expect from them what you are not willing to give. So you have to be willing to give what you're asking for. If you are asking that they show up at lessons, then you better show up. You better show up. Otherwise, and I have been there, it's park day. We're just going to bug off and go to the park because I would rather go to the park and have a day to breathe out and regroup and get myself together than not. Now, I don't have nearly as many of those as I did, when my big kids were little. When my big kids were little, when Harry was in second grade, I was going through a divorce. And I had a lot of days where I just felt like I couldn't pull it out of myself. Thank goodness they were little. So we spent a lot of days at the park. We spent a lot of days where I packed up drawing. We still did something. It might be drawing or painting. I would pack up our drawing and pack up the crayons, especially the block crayons are great for taking to the park. And we'd do tree rubbings or leaf rubbings, climb trees, be in nature. And we might take books to read there. So I just would rather bug off than teach a main lesson that I'm not present for. Because they know it and they feel it. And I feel like I love them more than that. I love them more than giving them, a half-assed education. So you have to decide, what do I want? Why are you doing this? If you are doing this and you are listening right now and you are starting school next month and you don't have a plan in place, you better get your fanny to our boot camp. We have a boot camp that starts Wednesday, July 31st. You must be a Thinking, Feeling, Willing member. Why? Because that tells me you're serious. That tells me you're serious. Thinking, Feeling, Willing is not for the mamby-pamby mom that's like, blah, blah, all out here. It is for the mom that is ready to work. It is for the mom that is ready to take charge of her child's education and her own education. Thinking, Feeling, Willing isn't just about, learning how to paint and how to draw. It's about like this stuff that I'm talking right here, this mindset stuff. We work on all of that. So if you are really struggling and you're not one of our members, you better DM me or PM me or email me or get a hold of me and say, I need to get started. Money is not an excuse. You've got to find a way. You find a way to feed your kids well, like physically. Find a way to feed their brains well. Find a way to feed your brain well. You can do this. This is a huge undertaking that you cannot take lightly. You have stewardship over these children. So make sure that the way you show up every single day is the way you want to and the way you're doing it in your head, because I'm telling you what, the brain lies. The brain lies. 50% of what you tell yourself didn't actually happen. So if you've got this ideal of how you're showing up, you better check yourself and make sure that that's really how you're showing up. Because if you're not, you probably need to make some changes. And this all is all like, and it's not about fear, it's about confidence, taking it on. If you're listening to this and you're like, crap, I'm afraid, don't be afraid, act. I had a mom I've been working with for a long time, and if she's listening, I'm not gonna say her name. I love her so much. She's been really struggling. And she says to me, I finally had the realization that I don't have to do what other people say to me. And I said, woohoo, an agent is born. Congratulations. Be an agent unto yourself. You get to choose. Stop letting other people choose for you and stop pretending that other people's choices are why you can't do what you do. Stop it. This is nonsense. You choose. You get to choose how you feel. You get to choose what you do. You get to choose what you attract to yourself. You get to choose all of that. So choose it. Choose it. And have a fabulous day about it. So, I think we're going to wrap up. Anything else over there?
No, we're good.
All right. Hope you guys have a wonderful week. I have no idea what we're talking about next week. I had something in my head and it totally ran away. So stay tuned. We'll figure out what we're talking about. If you have some topics that you'd like me to talk about, drop me a message. I'm happy to put it on the list. I hope you have a fabulous week. I hope you got something out of this video or audio if you're listening. If you're listening on the podcast, please like the podcast. Please share the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. Hit the bell notifications to get notifications when we upload new videos, and share it so that other people can see it. This is important work. I know it's important work. You got to share it with other people. Send your friends to us so that they can all see it. Love y'all. Have a great week.